about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
And we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So President Trump launched Moms.gov. This is a pretty cool website for pregnant and expectant mothers. I like this because anytime I had a patient who was pregnant, newly pregnant, they could come to me. But if they didn't necessarily have an OB-GYN or didn't have resources, I would refer them to the CDC. I would provide resources. But once I closed my practice, the majority of people would go online and then go to one site or another website. And if for many individuals that don't currently have a medical provider, which is really sad because you used to have a medical provider, you would be going to your gynecologist every year, you would be getting your birth control, and then when you got pregnant, you would be seeing that doctor. Now the average person doesn't have a doctor, so when they do become pregnant, they have to then scramble and try to find somebody right away. And so they might have questions on what should they be doing. Well, you need to start your prenatal vitamins. You need to be on folic acid. You need to be, avoiding certain medications if you're pregnant. So there's got to be a go-to. The CDC has good data, but a lot of people, they don't know, where the CDC, they got to search. So Moms.gov apparently is for new and expectant moms to go and get information. And it also includes information on the Trump accounts, because after you give birth, you might be forgetting that, you could qualify for that, which is, I think, a really, really good deal. So when you go to moms.gov, and I'm going to be, making sure that the information is accurate. On the outset, I don't see anything wrong. They talk about federally qualified health centers to let people know that there are places they could go. You could search and find an FQHC near you so you can get care. There's also pregnancy centers that are providing care, STD, STI screening, ultrasounds. There's also a link that'll direct you to an external site and then, help you. They say here that the link, all external links should be carefully considered, but at least it does redirect you to finding a medical center that you could go to. Then they also bring up nutritional quick facts for mothers. Pregnant women should consume diverse nutrient-dense foods, including iron-rich meats, folate-rich greens, legumes, eggs, dairy, low-mercury, omega-3 rich seafoods like salmon, sardines, trout, and should talk to their healthcare provider professional about taking a daily prenatal vitamin. And the CDC recommends 400 micrograms of folic acid daily. And then it gives you links to the dietary guidelines for Americans. And then there's the link for you to enroll eligible children for the Trump account. Just to recap, eligible children enrolled in Trump accounts are going to receive $1,000 from the U.S. Treasury in an account that they can access when they are 18. These are investment accounts, tax advantaged, and that they hope that by the time a child is 18, they'll have tens of thousands of dollars in this account, which is, I think, going to be very, very helpful, especially if they want to get a home or college, etc. And then that also links you back to Trump RX. They say there's a range of medical treatments that exist to help couples build their families, addressing ovulatory dysfunction, hormonal imbalances, insulin resistance, excess weight, may improve fertility outcomes. The only thing I want to say with that is be careful. So here's the thing. Trump RX is fantastic in terms of like good RX. They offer coupons, ways for you to get medications cheaper. I do not want somebody that is about to be pregnant or considering being pregnant going on these weight loss drugs. You have to be very, very careful because you cannot be pregnant while on them. It could hurt the baby. So when we have somebody who is trying to lose weight before they get pregnant, You might actually rebound with your weight. So I would just use a little bit of caution with that. I wouldn't directly advertise to people about to get pregnant and wanting to start a family to go on the weight loss drugs. I could be misreading that. But they are correct at saying excess weight and addressing that, addressing your excess weight could improve fertility outcomes. They're not wrong about that. And then they provide resources for women and parents like preconception health, breastfeeding information, nutrition, fertility awareness-based methods to recognize signs of your fertile period, identify underlying health conditions like polycystic ovarian syndrome and endometriosis. They're also, Trump has been an advocate for IVF, in vitro fertilization, and care and benefits for that. I'm not exactly sure where that link is, but they do provide additional resources such as protections. They say there's federal conscious protections that are most likely to affect you when making a decision about your own care and child's care, child welfare, access to benefits, sleep safety. They also give links and resources for those who use substances like cannabis, alcohol, cigarettes. They have information on STIs, HIV, toxoplasmosis, West Nile, things like that, health conditions like diabetes, and then pregnancy, radiation exposure information, reproductive health in the workplace. So pretty helpful. I would look at it, obviously, anything that you decide to do, make sure you double check with your medical provider. Like I said, we have right now an epidemic of people who don't have a medical provider, and they may go online and talk to a telehealth provider. If they do that, we'll give them as much information as we can. So I think Moms.gov is good. Trump wants to show that he is being supportive of women, and he's done a lot of executive, shall we say, he's done executive orders, and launching something like this, I think is very, very helpful. As I said, I'm really excited about those Trump accounts. I love the idea of kids having something to start, for us to, take on, the idea of okay, well, babies are expensive, and then they're college, and then they may not have a job, and we might have to support them for life. As far as I'm concerned, having babies was the best thing ever. But people are fearful. They're a little scared. And so something like this, I think, can be very, very helpful, especially in getting that child to start some sort of fiscal literacy and starting to at least have some assets to their name. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Doc Dolly. Big shout out to my amazing producer, Daniel. So, yesterday was Mother's Day, and I have to just bring something up because I see this every year, and I think it's hilarious. But it's not hilarious because apparently people are really struggling with the anxiety of making sure that their woman is happy or their mom is happy. And here we are the day after Mother's Day, and you guys are probably screwing up and making a big error without even realizing it. So I'm not a big fan of Mother's Day. I just never really, I was like, what do I really want to do on Sundays? I want to sleep in, get stuff done. I don't want to wait in line and go through the hassle of trying to go someplace and stand outside in the heat to try to, eat an overpriced meal. And so I'm just not really, you guys should be loving me and, adorning me with flattery 365 days a year. To see you guys stress out for one day, it's a stressful day. I just never really liked Mother's Day. You don't have to celebrate it for me. However, my family still does, and I tell them don't. They don't have the anxiety because I'm like, I don't care. I don't, although it was very interesting because my husband said, I got you a present. I go, you didn't have to give me a present. He goes, I got you a paddle. A paddle? Okay. I don't know if I'm intrigued or if I'm insulted. Oh, it's not a racquetball paddle. It's a pickleball paddle. So he got me a pickleball paddle. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, all right, good. Glad there was some clarity on that one. And then, of course, the dogs are looking at me going, ooh, look what I can do. Look, I can touch you with these things. They're like, ah. Then they tried to wrestle with me and all that. So I've been playing pickleball, so he got me a good racket. So that was really nice. So, yeah, I guess I like getting gifts for it. But, we go out to eat, and I see this every Mother's Day where you see the women, it's my special day. Yeah, it's my special day. And they're like, all happy. And you see the men. You see the men behind them with this fear on their face. Like, okay, we got to get to where I got to open the door. And because I'm a big door opener. And then I saw these men go, no, I got it. okay, I got you. No, you did it. That was really, really cool. That's what you did. And then like, and then they're like, every man I saw yesterday, just this look on their face. And I saw a lot of them because we went to eat at a, Gaucho, I don't know, I forgot the name. It's a Brazilian steakhouse at Fashion Show Mall. It's a new one. And so we were at Fashion Show Mall, so I saw a whole bunch of men. And you all saw, they were like, again, because men, they want to be protective and they want to, and and their women are all dressed up and they're all in heels, which is another, but if you really want to stress your man out, wear heels. Because if they're like, well, we need to go or we need to move or there's a shooter or whatever, you in heels, it's a mess. And so these women are like, all dressed up and in heels and good for them. It's their big special day, and they, but you see the men like, trying to herd everybody and making sure that everybody's happy and everybody's good. And then you see them sit down and they're like, the waiter better not mess us up. And it's like, there's all this anxiety. And it shouldn't be. But everybody screws up because then the day after Mother's Day comes. And we moms, again, we feel ghosted. We feel invisible. We feel non-relevant. And so I told you, what do moms really, really want for Mother's Day? Is we don't want to age and not be as crucial to your being as we were when you were younger. So as I said, make us feel like, we're important. So what I would do the day after Mother's Day is kind of, reach out, and go, Mom, I listen. Okay. Take some acting classes if you need to. All right. But say something like this. Okay. Mom, I really enjoyed spending the day with you yesterday. So, no, come on. No. Yes, I am going to. I do have a cure for the anxiety, but you got to first still do what you got to do. Mom, I really enjoyed spending time with you yesterday. It was a really good day. And I don't want to get mushy, but I don't express enough how much you've done for me, how much you've done for the family. I love you. And, if I ever forget to say that, or if I ever forget to make you feel that way, just remind me. All right? You're the best mom ever. Oh my God, I know. See, isn't that you could have saved the hundreds of dollars on dinner yesterday? It's all you needed to really, really do. All right, but and also tell them how lovely they look. Yeah, I mean, one thing you could also say that really, really works is, it's funny. I don't think people thought you were my mom. I think people thought you were like my sister because you just look so young. Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I always ask my boys that. I go, do I really look middle-aged? Do I look, they're like, no. You look older. I'm like, oh, you guys suck. You guys really suck. No, I got really, really good boys. One of my boys is on a work trip, and he was panicking. He was just in an absolute panic that he wasn't there for me. I go, I don't get, I could do Mother's Day any time. I don't, and I really think that if you could marry somebody who has that flexibility, the problem now with social media, just like with Valentine's, I told you guys with Valentine's, you will save bucks. And you will save so much drama celebrating Valentine's Day the day before or the day after. Because then you don't have these fixed menus, you don't have the lines, you don't have the up charges, you don't have to. I always tip extra on holidays. You do it the day before, make it a weekend, make it a whatever. But no, now that everybody posts and so, well, this has to be my Valentine's post, or this has to be my Mother's Day post, or this has to be my, and it puts the pressure on the guys often. And so it's a real thing. So one thing that I noticed that, because I'll talk to people. I'm like, when did you guys make your reservation? Because we had a tough time, about 2 hours ago. All right. So one thing I noticed that a lot of, men do, and I'm not doing this to stereotype men, but a lot of times it's, the husband's doing this for the mom or the dad or the sons or the daughter, somehow, they forget that it's Mother's Day. I told you guys last week ago, did you guys realize that last Sunday was, no, most of you forgot. I forgot. I'm like, really? I thought it was like later in June. It's sometime in May, second week of May. I always forget that. I just do, because so much is going on. We got graduation. We got so much going on. So plan ahead. Well, I can't plan ahead because what if she doesn't like this? What if she's in a bad mood or whatever about her IBS? Then it's okay. It's okay. But you want to plan ahead because then you have the paper trail. You're right. When I make a reservation, there's an email I get or a text. This way you could show them. You see, I did it. You want to have a paper trail, okay? You want to overdo. You never want to feel like you underdo. All right? So, for those of you going, gosh, Mother's Day was expensive. They overcharged me for everything. Then this is what you do. You wait till the day after Mother's Day to go on Amazon. Buy your mom's next Mother's Day gift now. Honestly, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but she might want AirPods or she might want, she could get AirPods from her, doesn't matter. Just she could get that from somebody else. Just you give her a Mother's Day gift. A lot of these Mother's Day gifts that I noticed were like as I was scrolling on social media, the ones that I don't keep getting blocked from, they take your mom and put her in a movie, or they put mom in a picture frame, and there's all this AI stuff. Well, that takes time to do. So if you guys tried to do that Saturday at midnight, you weren't able to do that. So again, why don't you start doing that now? You guys could have the whole thing already done and planned, which also now brings us to Christmas shopping. Yes, it is May. It's May 11th. This is when I do my Christmas shopping. Why? Because things are more expensive around Christmas. Once Black Friday hits, everything's more expensive. So I'm going to go get my Christmas lights. I'm going to go. I mean, it's hard to find. You don't really have a lot of Christmas lights on Amazon or on at like Home Depot and things like that. So I'm going to go on Amazon and I'm going to start doing. I'm telling you guys, if you don't believe me, then just go and get the prices. Just go and just just take some screenshots of what things cost, and then wait and see what happens Christmas time. Another thing also is with Iran, and Iran is kind of going back and forth and not playing ball and just dinking, us around as it pertains to a deal. The gas prices might go up and even more. There might be some, supply chain issues later. So what I would do is start looking at what you want to get, for Christmas. And even if it's not the big stuff, your stocking stuffers, things like that, now's a great time to do it. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be after Mother's Day sale. Be very careful. Memorial Day weekend, things get pricey. Also, Father's Day. So now, do women have the same anxiety as it comes to Father's Day? No, but they should. With Father's Day, we women make the mistake, and I talk about this all the time, of giving our husbands or dads chores to do. Like, well, okay, it's Father's Day, so we're going to do a barbecue out in 110-degree heat. So I need you to clean the backyard. I need you to scrub this down. We usually might plan ahead, but a lot of times we realize what's wrong the day of. And so now you are spending Father's Day out in the heat, scrubbing your grill, moving lawn furniture, and helping us set up for a barbecue, not for you, but for our father or your father-in-law. So there's some anxiety on that part, but it's because you have to be out in the sun working on your Father's Day when you don't even want a barbecue, you don't even want to see your father-in-law. So we really do these days wrong, but call your mom today, okay? Suck up a little. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme. The solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
We're back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of my listeners says that they were watching the news and with the redistricting fights and how Virginia's Supreme Court overturned their efforts to go from a 6-5 to 10-1 for Democrats to Republicans. They said that Republicans should win the House, but they're not seeing that. They're seeing everybody say that the Democrats are still going to win the House. What do I think about that? And again, I do a lot of political analysis work, but that's not really necessarily what the show is. But I am intrigued by that, and I kind of know what's going on in terms of that, but I think everybody should take everything with a grain of salt until, of course, Election Day. As we know that, whenever you have a pendulum swing as it pertains to politics, and then the Republicans take hold, as they did in 2024, pretty resoundingly, yet still razor-thin margins in the House. I think the House is 217 Republicans, 212 Democrats. Of the 435 representatives, there's I think one independent, and I believe there's still 5 vacancies. So it's still razor-thin. And so it's been postulated, and even Polymarket says, I think there's, a 79% chance that the Democrats are going to win the House back. And people are wondering why, even with all this gerrymandering. And so, I haven't really looked at individual seats. I do have some information on what's happened from the redistricting, but, California is gaining a lot more seats. Virginia, what happened with Virginia doesn't gain Republican seats. It just prevents the Democrats from gaining 4 more. And so if you're expecting Polymarket, and people love Polymarket because they've been fairly accurate, right? In fact, didn't the Polymarket CEO get raided the day after Trump won because the Biden administration wanted to know how he knew? That was interesting. I don't really know what happened to that. I want to look that up. So, gaining House seats is going to be very, very helpful to the Republicans or helpful to the Democrats, but it doesn't necessarily, is it going to be enough to stave off a blue wave that often happens in the midterms? And so if Republicans are feeling confident because they might be winning the redistricting battle. Getting an extra, congressional district here or there helps, getting that extra seat, but it still might not be enough. So, as we spoke about earlier, the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that race-based gerrymandering is not allowed. You cannot come up with a House district based on race alone. Now that is causing a lot of House districts to be eliminated because they're unconstitutional. And now they have to redistrict where they aren't using race as the sole reason. As we said, these these congressional districts have to be population based. I think they should be more equally geographically divided, but they're gerrymandered and salamandered, and unfortunately, like what we saw with Illinois, you're like, how the hell is something like that legal? But it's just, unfortunately, the states have control over that, and if the Democrats are in control, the Republicans are in control, they're then in control of the map. So according to PBS, they break down some of where new House districts are proposed. So with Louisiana, the current map has 2 Democrats and 4 Republicans. We're being told that now, because of the Supreme Court, that there may be a redistricting of that. It might eliminate one of the Democratic districts, might eliminate both. We're not sure. Right now, they are relooking at that. As I've always said, I think everybody should have say. I can't stand the fact that Virginia tried to do a 10-1. California did what they did. I want to make sure Texas, Florida allow their Democrats to still have a voice. I think bipartisanly, we don't like gerrymandering. Everybody in each state should have a voice, but it's getting ugly. And whoever gets control is going to try more and more to make sure that they can maintain in control. And California is going to use, all their might to, because they have 43 congressional districts now, Democrat. Alabama has 2 Democrat and 5 Republicans. They, I believe, have to readdress their map based on the new Supreme Court ruling. They might be able to win an additional seat. South Carolina has 1 Democrat, 6 Republican seats on that. Now, again, there might be an additional seat going to South Carolina. That is concerning, again, people to not have any Democratic representation. But again, their response is, look at what California did and look at what New York tried to do. Texas, current map has 13 Democrats and 25 Republicans. The new map, the new House map that I believe was done legitimately through the Texas system, as opposed to Virginia, where the Virginia Supreme Court found it to be unconstitutional to their state constitution. The new Texas map will give Republicans 5 additional seats. This is supposed to counter what happened in California, or California decided to counter what happened in Texas, where California has 43 Democratic seats, 9 Republicans, and voters approved a revised House district, which knocked 5 Republican seats out, giving the Democrats 5 more. So Democrats would have 48 and Republicans would have 4. In California, that's tricky. Now, the Supreme Court allowed that, so that will go through. That Democrats are gaining in California. But like I said, whether it's Virginia, whether it's Tennessee, whether it's Texas, whether it's California, I mean, there are millions of Republicans. It's like a 60-40 in California, right? And they don't have the congressional representation of that. That's not right. There's got to be a way now. And same thing with Tennessee. If Tennessee ends up getting rid of Memphis's current district, where now it's just all Republican districts, there's Democrats that live in Tennessee. Why can't they have I just don't like the idea of red state, blue state. We are states of America, and and yes, there might be things in that state that benefit more from Republican ideology or Democratic ideology, but we're not red state or blue. We're red, white, and blue states. That's not the thinking now. In Missouri, we got 2 Democrats, 6 Republicans. Republican Governor Mike Kehoe has revised a map that will now allow Republicans to get 1 more seat. North Carolina has 4 Democratic, 10 Republican seats. There's going to be a new district that might give them 1 more. So you see, it's not a lot. Ohio has 5 Democratic seats, 10 Republican seats. Bipartisanly, They did. Looks like bipartisanly, but it was a bipartisan panel. But I think still Republican majority allows Republicans now to get 2 more seats. In Utah, there are no Democratic seats. There are 4 Republicans. But there was a judge that revised the House districts that would help Democrats get a seat. So the Utah may actually gain a Democratic seat. In Florida, there's 8 Democratic, 20 Republican. Governor DeSantis on May 4th signed a revised plan that would give Republicans 24 seats and Democrats 4. Tennessee, 1 Democratic, 8 Republican, and now the lone Democratic held seat might, because of the black majority district, because of the Supreme Court ruling, cause a change in the restructuring of that, which might then end up going to Republicans. So, there's a handful. You guys could do the math. And by the way, many of these are still going to be in the court system. The respective courts are going to fight it, just like Virginia is going to take it to the Supreme Court. But if there are certain seats of individuals who are, California getting rid of 4 Republicans and Texas moving 4 Republicans or 4 Democrats, these things wash out. For the Republicans to maintain their hold, they're going to have to have a very, very strong midterm, and they're vulnerable now. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did, and just maybe someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Show 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So, now that we have one American who tested positive for hantavirus, we are, the passengers have been now evacuated from the cruise ship. We have, I believe, 18 that have returned home to America. Some are in Nebraska, 2 are in Emory University in Georgia, and some are quarantining at home. You start seeing the media go after RFK Jr. And okay, why? This is Trump's fault. Why? Why is this Trump's fault? Well, they say that it's RFK Jr.'s approach to the CDC, to Donald Trump's approach to the World Health Organization. And, here's my thing. All right. Look, I want readiness. I understand that people have been critical of RFK Jr. for having a much different approach than previous HHS executives and heads. But I have commended his, shall we say, caution on, can we take a look at what we are urging people and recommending to people and suggesting, and what we are looking at, when these studies come up, and these studies are done by these, by the companies themselves, are we making sure there's not secondary gain? I think that's important. So here's an example. I'm a fan of Pfizer and Moderna for being able to come up so quickly with the COVID vaccine. I do believe the COVID vaccine saved lives, but one thing that was really confusing to me, and I should be able to find the previous audio of me telling you the efficacy rates, when in December of 2020, Pfizer touted its COVID vaccine. They said it was 100% effective against COVID-19. Moderna then comes out a day or two later saying that their vaccine was 94% effective against COVID-19. Pfizer then responded the next day or a day or two later saying we're 95% effective. Now, I got the vaccine. I'm very happy I did. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know why you did it. I'm very happy, and I do credit Pfizer and Moderna. But I thought that media exchange was very odd. Now, it could have been the reporters. And some typos. But this is the example. That is an example of, okay, what's the efficacy? Now, I'd like to say maybe a few days prior, there were typos, or somebody misinterpreted the percentage, calling it 90. And that's why it later was then 95, because if you have clinical trials and you have submission of your data to the FDA, you can't change it that easily. But as it pertains to the media, I mean, that's a big change in numbers from 90 to 95 after it responded to Moderna's efficacy rate. And so, science is science. You can't change the numbers that quickly. And so RFK Jr. wants to make sure that if a company is saying that their vaccine is safe, their vaccine is effective, let's look at the numbers. Let's see. We had a lot of concern over the vaccines, especially Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca. With AstraZeneca, we didn't even give it in America. I do believe they did have roles. They had DNA vaccines, and they did play roles in combating COVID. But the side effect profile, especially as it pertained to deep vein thrombosis and clots, was, I guess, more than we could deal with, especially since we were dealing with myocarditis and ITP and other things that were being reported as side effects, cardiac arrest, and other side effects that we were being told were happening with the COVID vaccine. They were rare, far and few between compared to COVID cases, but those were being reported. But the CDC website at the time was very confusing. When you were trying to look at how many cases, and you heard, these person fainted, this, they actually stopped allowing us to have any videotape or cameras because people were falling. And I knew what was going on because of the hospital, and I was there, and I was hearing from people what was going on, and they were like, yeah, we're having people faint. We're having people, well, why? Is it that they're just, nervous, vasovagal, or is there an issue? And then we had one person come out after their, it was reported in the news where they went into cardiac arrest after the vaccine. Was it the vaccine, or was it luck of the draw they went into cardiac arrest? So the vaccine had more benefits than risks, but there were risks. And the American public, as a result of that, turned to the U.S. government going, all right, you guys got to give us the truth. What's going on here so we can make an educated decision? Well, the Biden administration didn't trust the American public. They thought they would make the wrong choice and choose, quote unquote, poorly. And so they didn't necessarily, it was get your shot. Get your shot. If you don't get your shot, you are worsening the COVID pandemic. You're going to give COVID to people. And it turned into a fiasco, and people start to not believe the government even more than they disbelieved at that. And so now RFK Jr. is coming in, trying to regain trust. And as a doctor, I need people to trust a source, whether it's the CDC, whether it's the World Health Organization. We need trust. China wasn't very trustworthy. Now, being that the first SARS outbreak in 2002 was deemed their fault from a lab leak, and then a couple of people died in 2004. Again, the Singapore Health Ministry had deemed it was a lab leak, and I think a couple people from the Chinese CDC got fired as a result. So when this happened in 2019, we're like, I guess it's another lab leak. And when people were trying to just connect the dots, third time's charm, 3 strikes, come on. And we were told it was misinformation. We were silenced. Doctors were told to get psychiatric care, licenses suspended. It was bad. The same nurses that were heroes who saved people's lives in the beginning of the pandemic got fired 1 year later because they wouldn't get the vaccine. That caused distrust. So did the hantavirus have anything to do with RFK's approach to healthcare and transparency? No. If hantavirus got on the MV Homobus? Sorry, I keep forgetting the name of the ship. The MV Hondius. Sorry, the MV Hondius. No, he didn't. People say, well, his inspections went down. This is a Dutch cruise liner. The Dutch are responsible for that. It's not RFK. Now, he's responsible for how people are isolating, treated. Now, somebody testing positive for hantavirus, I don't believe they have symptoms. Somebody symptomatic for hantavirus but testing negative. He is still in charge of how the CDC is approaching that and how the University of Nebraska and their quarantine center is handling things. But in terms of what happened on that cruise ship, it's a Dutch ship. Our job is to ensure that nothing like this happens again on cruise ships, which is very tricky because norovirus is very common on cruise ships. COVID, flu, somebody bringing in hantavirus and then it becoming person to person. This was rare. We're being told well, it was a unique strain because usually hantavirus you don't give person to person. And if they don't think that the ship had any rat droppings, okay, we could be looking at something new. So how do we handle that? Well, we change our protocols. And I mean, when people go off and on ships for excursions, do they need screenings? Do they need to, be told we're going to have you avoid X, Y, and Z? But there's going to probably be some new protocols put into place. And RFK Jr., from what I understand, is working on that. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Dahlia. As many of you know, I lost another colleague to suicide. And tragically, tens of thousands of Americans, including hundreds of physicians, take their lives each year. Why is suicide so common? Why doctors? Even medical students have alarming suicide rates. Nurse burnout is at an all-time high. Maybe it's the monstrous workloads we face every day. Maybe it's because of burnout, malpractice suits, online reviews. Medicine has changed so rapidly that it's almost unrecognizable to those of us who entered this field and wanted to take it by storm. But there's not a lot of resources out there for healthcare providers who deny that they are struggling or at risk. So my book, The Depressed Doctor, aims to change that for both the physician and medical student and anyone else who is struggling. Find The Depressed Doctor on Amazon or at drdahlia.com. And if you are currently struggling, call or text 988, the National Suicide Prevention and Crisis Hotline. Don't wait. The silence is killing us.